From the heights of power to the depths of defeat, Marcus Antonius was a man who left an indelible mark on the Roman Empire. A skilled politician and fearless general, he played a crucial role in the transformation of the Roman Republic into an authoritarian empire, leaving a legacy that endures to this day. Known to many as Mark Antony in modern English, this towering figure lived from January 14, 83 BC to August 1, 30 BC. Join us as we delve into the captivating tale of Marcus Antonius and the impact he had on the course of history. On January 14, 83 BC in Rome, Antony, a member of the plebeian Antonia gens, was born. Marcus Antonius Creticus was his father and the bearer of his name. He was the prodigious orator Marcus Antonius' son, who had been assassinated in the winter of 87 to 86 BC during the purges of Gaius Marius. Julius Caesar's third cousin, was his mother. At the time of Lucius Cornelius Sulla's invasion of Rome in 82 BC, Antony was a little child. Marcus Tullius Cicero, a Roman orator, claimed that Antony's father was dishonest and corrupt, and was only given authority because he could not utilize or abuse it. He was given the military order to subdue the Mediterranean pirates in 74 BC, but he passed away in Crete in 71 BC without making any headway. After the passing of Antony the Elder, Lucius and Gaius were left in the custody of their mother, Julia, who eventually wed Publius Cornelius Lentulus Sura, a distinguished member of the former patrician elite. Lentulus was perpetually in debt because of his spending while using his political status for financial advantage. He played a significant role in the Second Catilinarian conspiracy and was ruthlessly executed in 63 BC based on the consul Cicero's instructions. The historian Plutarch claims that Antony spent his teenage years drinking, gambling, and getting embroiled in scandalous relationships while he and his brothers and friends were lost in the streets of Rome. Cicero, Antony's contemporaries and adversary, claimed that the latter had an affair with Gaius Trebonius Curio. This slander was widely used to denigrate and discredit political rivals in the Roman Republic. While it is known that he was a friend of Publius Clodius Pulcher and his street gang, there needs to be more trustworthy information about his political involvement as a young man. Given that he was later identified as a priest of this order, he may have also been associated with the Lupercal cult. By age 20, Antony had racked up a sizable debt. Antony traveled to Greece in 58 BC to escape his creditors, where he attended Athens to study philosophy and eloquence. As the head of the cavalry, Antony joined the military staff of Aulus Gabinius, the proconsul of Syria, in 57 BC. This position signals the start of his military career. The previous year, Gabinius had approved Publius Clodius Pulcher, Antony's mentor, sending Cicero into exile. To avoid his competitor and son-in-law Alexander, Hyrcanus II, the Hasmonean high priest of Judea, who had the support of the Romans, escaped from Jerusalem to Gabinius. He and his father, King Aristobulus II, were captured by the Roman general Pompey in 63 BC while fighting the last of the Seleucid Empire. Pompey had removed Aristobulus, and Hyrcanus had been appointed as Judas Client ruler by Rome. After earning significant wins at Alexandrium and Machaerus, Antony earned his first military honors. After the uprising was put down in 56 BC, Gabinius reinstated Hyrcanus as the high priest in Judea. Gabinius got involved in the political events of Ptolemaic Egypt the following year, in 55 BC. In 58 BC, his daughter Berenice IV orchestrated the overthrow of Pharaoh Ptolemy XII Auletes, forcing him to seek refuge in Rome. Ptolemy had earned Pompey's help during his conquests years prior, and Pompey had designated him as a Roman ally. The goal of Gabinius' invasion was to put Ptolemy back on the throne. Pompey, then Rome's top politician, approved the Senate's commands, and only after the overthrown monarch offered a payment of 10,000 talents. According to the Greek historian Plutarch, Antony persuaded Gabinius to take action. After thwarting the Egyptian kingdom's frontier soldiers, Gabinius' army attacked the palace guards, but they gave up without engaging in combat. After Ptolemy XII was reinstated as Rome's client king, Gabinius stationed 2,000 Roman soldiers in Alexandria, later known as the Gabiniani, to uphold Ptolemy's rule. Rome had a significant influence over the kingdom's affairs in exchange for its assistance, particularly in collecting taxes and producing crops. Years later, Antony asserted that during this campaign in Egypt, he first encountered Cleopatra, the daughter of Ptolemy XII at the time, who was 14 years old. Rome's internal political climate had shifted while Antony served Gabinius in the east. Three men, Marcus Licinius Crassus, Gnaeus Pompey Magnus, and Gaius Julius Caesar, entered a covered agreement to rule the Republic in 60 BC. This arrangement is referred to as the First Triumvirate. Caesar was Rome's Pontifex Maximus and a former general in Spain. Crassus, Rome's richest man, had crushed Spartacus' slave uprising in 70 BC. Pompey had conquered much of the eastern Mediterranean in the 60s BC. Antony wed his cousin Antonia Hybrida Minor, the offspring of Gaius Antonius Hybrida, while still serving in the military. The marriage gave birth to Antonia, the only known offspring, between 54 and 47 BC. Whether or not this was Antony's first marriage is still being determined. Because of his friendship with Publius Clodius Pulcher, Antony rose to greater prominence. Through his sponsor, Marcus Licinius Crassus' assistance, Clodius forged an effective political alliance with Julius Caesar. In 54 BC, Clodius got Antony a job on Caesar's military staff so he could help him conquer Gaul. Antony was his superb military leader while serving Caesar. Despite a brief estrangement later in life, Antony and Caesar forged cordial ties that lasted until Caesar's murder in 44 BC. Plutarch remembers Antony as Caesar's most successful commander and his sole rival in terms of reputation during the Greek campaign. Antony besieged Dyrrhachium with Pompey's more enormous army after joining Caesar in the western Balkan Peninsula. Caesar came to Rome and was installed as a dictator, with Antony serving as his master of the horse and second in command, rather than immediately going after Pompey and the surviving Optimates. Caesar presided over his election to a second consulship in 47 BC and subsequently abdicated this dictatorship after 11 days in power. Then in 47 BC, Caesar traveled to Egypt and overthrew Ptolemy XIII in favor of his sister Cleopatra. Young Cleopatra married Caesar and gave birth to his son Caesarion. Caesar's measures consolidated already dominant Roman dominance over the realm. Antony stayed in Rome to run Italy and establish order while Caesar was abroad in Egypt. But without Caesar to lead him, Antony swiftly ran into political issues and lost the populace's support. His political struggles were primarily brought on by debt relief. A former Pompey general and one of the tribunes for 47 BC, Publius Cornelius Dolabella, proposed a measure that would have erased all outstanding debts. Because he thought Caesar would not support such extensive assistance and believed Dolabella had seduced his wife Antonia Hybrida Minor, Antony opposed the law for both political and personal grounds. When Dolabella took the Roman Forum in an attempt to enforce the law by force, Antony retaliated by sending his soldiers into the crowd, killing hundreds of people. By October 47 BC, Caesar had to leave for Italy due to the ensuing unrest, particularly among his veterans who would have benefited from the law. Antony was loyal to Caesar, despite whatever disagreements they may have had, ensuring that their estrangement continued for a short time. In 45 BC, Antony and Caesar were reunited in Narbo. A complete reconciliation occurred in 44 BC when Antony and Caesar were both elected consuls. Caesar wanted to send Antony to Italy to rule Rome in his place, while he plotted a new invasion of Parthia. Soon after, Antony turned down an invitation to join a plot to assassinate Caesar from one of Caesar's generals, Gaius Trebonius. The two men reconciled. In August of 30 BC, Octavian, now on the verge of ultimate power, invaded Egypt with the aid of Agrippa. Without any other hiding place, Antony stabbed himself with his sword, thinking Cleopatra had already done so. His friends took him to the monument where Cleopatra hid when they learned she was still alive, and he passed away in her arms. After Octavian took Cleopatra prisoner, she was permitted to perform Antony's funeral rituals. She made repeated efforts to end her life, until finally succeeding in the middle of August, after realizing that she was destined for Octavian's victory in Rome. Octavian executed Caesarion and Antylus, but he spared Hyllus and the children of Antony Cleopatra, who were carried through the streets of Rome. That's all we have for the video. We hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe to the channel on your way out. See you guys in the next one. Until then, keep exploring and stay amazing.